Hey guys, what's going on? Coming at you today with the Tenpai Flameswordsman deck profile. Sorry for the shaky camera. I'm physically holding my phone. Cannot for the life of me find my stand for recording. I don't really do a lot of content personally, but I do actually have a stand to make this a little better, but cannot find it. Anyway, I know this video is a little bit of a long time coming. Probably a couple weeks past due. Not sure if anybody still cares about it, but wanted to record it for you. Got a top 4 at another locals, and then had a regional that I did pretty well at kind of recently. Just wanted to explain the deck, a little bit of the choices, and if you want some more in-depth reasoning, maybe some combos, a couple test hands or whatever, let me know in the comments. I'll upload some of that, go a little bit more in depth why I chose some cards over others. It is a blind going second. I feel like that's the best way to play this deck. Tenpai is obviously a blind going second deck, and Flameswordsman definitely plays better in that more OTK role. Anyway, kind of starting off the deck profile, I am playing 3 of the new Dark Flare Swordsman. This card basically fixed all the problems with Flameswordsman as an archetype. It as cost summons itself by sending from your extra deck to the graveyard to kind of kickstart all your stuff, and then you contribute him to summon the Fighting Flameswordsman from your deck. Yeah, that's the only card that really warrior locks you. So that's kind of why it blends pretty well with the Tenpai stuff. So if you're seeing this, you're pretty much already in a winning position, and then the Tenpai stuff does a really good job at making Black Rose Dragon. So anyway, next up we have 3 copies of the Fighting Flameswordsman. This card's your kind of Stratos of the deck, I guess. When it's normal summoned, you can add a spell or trap that mentions Flameswordsman from your deck to your hand, and then when it goes to the graveyard, usually you'll use it as like a fusion summon material. You can send the Salamander monster from your deck to the graveyard and get another search. Speaking of which, play 2 copies of this. This in the graveyard can equip to a fusion Flameswordsman monster, give it 700 attack, and then also when it goes to the graveyard, off of your Fighting Flameswordsman, you can search another spell or trap. That's it for the Flameswordsman stuff. Next up is your Tenpai engine. 2 copies of Padra. I was playing 3, kind of cut it down. You usually end up in the hands seeing this card or some way of getting to it, so you really don't need to play 3. You want to see more of your board breakers rather than more copies of this. 1 copy of Chandra, 1 copy of Fadra, and a single copy of Genroku. That is it for the Tenpai stuff. No other searchers really for it. Pretty self-explanatory. Genroku, obviously 1 card starter on its own, and I'll kind of show you some of my other deck choices a little bit later to explain why. 3 copies of Fua. Again, you want to see your cards, droll once you feel like you've drawn enough. Like to play the turn stopper hand traps, really. And that's it for the monsters. Just those, no Ash, no Baylor, nothing like that. Just the Fua and the Droll, nearly for my monster hand traps. Like I said, it's a blind going second deck. Next up, 3 copies of Fighting Flamesword, not to be confused with Fighting Flameswordsman. I like to explain to people whenever I'm playing this card on them that it's kind of like Wanted Sinful Spoils. You can use it to play around Droll in case you do get drolled, to kind of still get that one last search. Also, if you do see it in multiples, it's not like the worst thing ever. It does have some protection and destruction during your opponent's turn or during your turn. You can only play 1 per turn, but like I said, it's usually like a somewhat decent-ish back row. Next is the Flamesword's Realm. This card's kind of like your branded Lost. When you do get your Fighting Flameswordsman normal summons, your opponent can't really interact with it. That comes up sometimes. I have had somebody try to like imperm my Fighting Flameswordsman, and I'm like, hey, you can do that, but it's not really going to do anything. But yeah, so just 1 copy of this. You really don't want to brick on it. It is pretty easily searchable. And then one card of the, or one copy of the Salamander Fusion gives it 700 attack and also gets your big guy out. Onto the Tenpai stuff, just one copy of Summoning, Summoning, and Singing Kaiman. They're both at 1. Honestly, if they were both at 3, I'd probably still, just in this build, to try to keep it at 40, probably still only play one of each. And then 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, really to kind of see whatever you need in the deck, whether that's Interruption or Searchers and stuff like that, to kind of get whichever of the 2 engines you don't have going. Honestly, I usually see a copy of Thrust or something like that in my opening hand to kind of, you know, build based on my matchups. Next up, I was playing 2 of these, and then in the most recent ban list, it did go up to 3, so I want to try to max out on this. Depending on if you're playing a back row deck or a monster heavy deck, usually people will either play into Lightning Storm in one form or another. 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talents, again, really good thrust target. Again, all hand dependent. 1 copy of Called by the Grave. I usually kind of like picture this and this to have like similar-ish uses in the deck. Kind of play around hand traps. 1 copy of Pot of Prosperity. Both of these 2 engines do like 20,000-ish damage on your opponent's turn, so cutting that in half, you're still winning the game. 1 copy of Rhoda. This is a pretty decent thrust target. If you don't see your Flameswordsman engine, this will kind of get you there. And then 1 copy of Terraforming, same functionality as the Rhoda. If you don't see your Tenpai engine, this will get you there. So I wanted to have like a thrust target to get you into either or. And then these next cards are supposed to be 3 impulses, but for the tournaments I usually borrow a copy of my buddies. I need to pick up my own copy, but just for play testing, and in case somebody doesn't have any, I do play 3 in perm. Nothing wrong with Infinite Impermanence, it's still a good card, but you know, just for this particular build, seeing impulse is way better. That's it for the main deck. Gonna move on to the extra deck. For the extra deck, I got 1 copy of Spheres, 1 copy of SP Little Knight, 2 copies of OG Flameswordsman. I actually do go into the second copy quite a bit in this deck, and then for another card later, I will show you why having this is pretty good. 1 copy of Fighting Flame Dragon. I do kind of sometimes have the second one come up. I'll show you 1 card you can take out for it if you do feel like playing 2. 1 copy of the Ultimate Flameswordsman. You don't ever, in this particular build, ever need to go into the second. 1 copy of Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. Summon this almost every single duel. When you have the where is it? The Fighting Flame Dragon and the Salamander Effect Monster. You can send both of them just to summon this, kind of back row your opponent's cards and go into the Tenpai stuff if needed. 1 copy of Snake Eye Vengeance Dragon. This is a 12, and then the Bident Dragon is a 7, so 7 and 12 with your Flame Swordsman. Pretty easy to get this guy out. 1 copy of the Dragon, 1 copy of Ruddy Rose Dragon, and then 1 copy of Black Rose Dragon. I do like having both of these, depending on, you know, your matchups. Sometimes Ruddy Rose can come up, but also, you know, could be a prosperity target. But Black Rose, I summon this like over half of my games. Like I said, it's a complete board clear, and then you can just do Flame Swordsman stuff to hit them for 20,000. Pretty good. And then 1 copy of Transcendent Dragon, 2 copies of Bident. Do go into both of these a lot of duels. And then like I said, this is kind of maybe either your locals or a meta call. Whether you want to play Typhon or not, this could easily be the second Fighting Flame Dragon. Totally up to you. And onto the side deck. Again, this is for my locals, and again, what I would assume that you would be playing at a competitive event right now. 3 copies of Nib, 3 copies of Lava Golem. You really don't need your normal summon in this deck. The Genroku can get you into the Tenpai stuff without normal summoning, and the new Dark Flare Swordsman can get you into the Fighting Flame stuff without normal summoning, so you really don't need it. If you see this along with either one of those 2 engines, you're usually in a very good winning position. And then 1 copy of Magnuma, 1 copy of Druid Swarm, and 1 copy of Baldrake. These are all really good into Yummy right now. Magnuma was in the main deck for a while, but I kind of took it out because, like I said, it's totally blind going second, and usually I will end up seeing my Tenpai engine in one form or another, whether it's a way to get to it or enough cards that I really don't need the Magnuma. And then for when I think my opponent's going to be having me go first, 3 copies of Heatwave, 1 copy of Black Goat Laughs. It's a good thrust target. 1 copy of D-Barrier, again, good thrust target for going first. And then if I just want to mainly focus on the Flameswordsman stuff, 1 copy of Salamander Chain is a good interruption, kind of help you get to your stuff. And then my Nibiru token, it's a bomb token, fire stuff, yeah. Anyway, that's it for the deck profile. Like I said, if you want some more in-depth or some combo stuff, some reasonings behind, hey, why don't you play this, why don't you play this? I've done a lot of testing with this deck in general. Mess with the ratios. This is kind of what I have come up with, happy with. Again, if you have any questions, I will answer any of them in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.